Welcome back. The U.S. preparing for negotiations with Iran and Pakistan this weekend after both sides agreed to a 2-week ceasefire yesterday. The vice president set to lead the talks, although President Trump did express some hesitation to the New York Post over security concerns with J.D. going. Now, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are set to attend those meetings this weekend. The president also confirming that CENTCOM will not withdraw any forces from the Middle East until a full agreement is reached. Fox News learning that 50,000 U.S. troops remain in the region, including 2 aircraft carrier strike groups. Meanwhile, the Department of Homeland Security is still shut down for now a 55th day. Democrats have other priorities. In fact, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer says that he will force another vote on an Iran war powers resolution when they get back from recess next week. Top Democrats are also signaling openness to invoking the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump, they claim. Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin says he's going to host a virtual briefing on Friday on accountability for the Trump administration. So this is what they are spending their time on. Joining me now is former House Speaker and Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich, along with KA Consulting President and Fox News contributor Kellyanne Conway. Great to see you both. Thank you so much for being here. And, you know, look, we know we're in the middle of a war. We know that the economy has been impacted and the price of oil and gas has been impacted, Newt. And we also have to understand and remember that the midterm elections are a few months away. Your reaction to all of this?
Well, I think the president has to focus first on finding out whether or not this is a real agreement. I'm in the Reagan school of trust but verify, and I'm very doubtful, but I'm willing to watch, and we'll know, I think, in about 2 weeks whether this is real. If it is real, he can then pivot, focus on the economy, focus on the campaign, and I think the Republicans will actually be in dramatically better shape than the current liberal media. I think that when you get down to the real issues, the point you just made a second ago, you have Democratic leaders who work very hard to undermine the United States in the middle of a confrontation with a ruthless dictatorship. And you sort of have to ask yourself, I mean, where are their heads? What is Schumer thinking of? What is Jeffries thinking of? Because their behavior, both in terms of blocking payment for Homeland Security and in their attitude about potentially impeaching a president in the middle of a war, all of this weakens the Democrats and I think creates an environment where they could be very shocked this fall by the repudiation of the American people.
So you're not buying this idea that, you know, every administration loses the House in the middle,
no,
in the midterms?
Look, we have at least 4 examples where we didn't. But I was helping the Bush campaign in 1988 when George H.W. Bush was 19 points behind in May. He won by 8. That means every 4th American, once they got to the campaign, switched and decided they were for Bush. In my own races, I was down once 51-37 at Labor Day and came back and won 54-46. So there's a campaign between here and the election.
Yeah.
I suspect oil is going to go down dramatically. I suspect the economy will keep growing. The economy was even growing last month despite the war. So I think we may be in substantially better shape once we can focus and get our act together. But candidly, if you're a war president and you have all the different things going on that Trump has going on, it's pretty hard to focus as closely as you'd like to on making your message to the American people.
Kellyanne.
Well, I agree with all of that. I think that the Republicans could surprise everybody this fall, Maria, for 2 reasons. One is if the Republican candidates can actually articulate what this war and this victory will mean to them, to us here at home, versus the Democratic Party. I want to talk about them for a moment. Impeach, honestly, these people have one gear: insult, investigate, impeach, impugn, indict, assassinate, God forbid. Chuck Schumer, particularly yesterday, was in the news saying, well, Asia's mad at us and Europe's mad at us. Excuse me, you're a United States Senator from New York. And, buddy, you've been there for 45 years. We're talking about the 47-year reign of terror for Iran, Maria. Yeah. Chuck Schumer's been in Congress and the Senate for 45 years. If I tack on his time in the State Assembly, he's been there for 51 years. He should be impeached. He should term limit himself. But what is the basis here? They were all upset about a Truth Social post and have very little to say about a 2-week ceasefire and an agreement that is pro-American. Look, we need to decimate the nuclear capability of Iran. We need to take out their Navy. Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, told a different network last night, it's thanks to Donald Trump we're all going to be safer. What he's doing by denigrating the capability in Iran keeps us all safer. Now, my message to the Republican candidates is simple. You need to find a way to articulate this in your district or in your state to your constituents. Stop leaning so heavily on President Trump. He's going to give you his endorsement. He's going to do the rally, the teletown hall for you. He's giving you a blueprint. And that winning blueprint also has to do with energy independence, has to do with a geopolitical realignment, where we're doing deals with the Gulf states, where NATO, perhaps some of those countries are not helping. I think Romania, Greece, Croatia, they've been great. Some of our, quote, allies have not been so great. But you have to articulate that. They're leaning. Trump has given them a blueprint. And Maria, next week's tax day, we're going to have a whole new ability to message. Not a single Democrat, not one, including the 11 Democrats who sit in congressional districts where they won and Trump won in 2024. Not a single Democrat voted for you to have lower taxes and fewer regulations and more energy independence and a more secure border. In fact, they're holding up the funding now. Even Susan Collins, the chief appropriator, is blaming the Democrats for keeping DHS shut down, and she's right.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, you know, the president has set up the backdrop in such a way that we could actually see, you know, a rocket ship, right, after we get out of this war because of deregulation, because of the tax changes in the tax code in the big, beautiful bill. And we just talked about that, Kellyanne, that people are getting checks of $3,500 right now. The refunds are up. So there's no doubt with what he's done in terms of tapping into the energy capacity, oil capacity in America, what he's done in terms of setting up this economy can set us up for a very strong performance. But first, we've got to get out of the war, and we've got to see oil prices reverse. So oil is up this morning. Yesterday, it had its best day, its biggest decline since 2020. The price of oil was down 17%. Now it's at $99.24, up 5% on the session. Do you believe, Newt and Kellyanne, that we are going to see much lower prices going into the midterms as we get closer to the midterms when people can actually feel relief at the pump?
Well, I have no doubt that we will be much better off in terms of the price of gasoline. But remember, Schumer, in a sense, is setting up the Democrats to be the pro-Iranian party. Now, the Iranian dictatorship killed 47,000 people in the first 3 months of this year. The Iranian dictatorship still says death to America. And Schumer, in essence, is the domestic ally of the Iranian dictatorship. I don't think that's a very good position to be in, to go to the country, because let's face it, if the Iranians get nuclear weapons and long-range missiles, whether it's New York or Chicago or Boston or Seattle, American cities are going to be at risk. And the Democrats seem to think it's just fine to risk losing American cities to Iranian nuclear weapons. Trump thinks it's really important to protect those cities. That's a pretty tough debate for the left to win.
Yeah, and all of this, Kellyanne, as the Democrats are focused on all things against the president's agenda. I mean, look at the Department of Homeland Security. The shutdown is now into day 55. DHS workers are going to get their paychecks tomorrow, including back pay, because of President Trump signing an executive order authorizing the payments. But the House Freedom Caucus is rejecting a partial funding plan, which, by the way, was backed by President Trump. But they want the entire department to be funded through a single GOP reconciliation bill. We're actually now talking about the potential for 2 reconciliation bills, putting one bill focused on the DHS funding for Border Patrol and for ICE, and another one focused on perhaps fraud, perhaps the Save America Act, and defense money. You know, we're talking about $500 billion Pentagon base plus up. You know, the president wants $1.5 trillion defense budget next year. What are your thoughts on the Democrats, how they're focused on taking out President Trump while all of this stuff is underway? We're in the middle of a war, and we have no DHS department open.
That's right. And look, the DHS department is seen by the Democrats, Maria, exclusively as ICE. When we all know if you stood in line for hours and hours a couple of weeks ago with your kids for spring break or trying to get to a business meeting, that's a Democrat's fault. They don't want to fund FEMA. They don't want to fund Border Patrol. They don't want to fund all of the many operational, structural duties, responsibilities that DHS has to keep us all safe. That's how spiteful they are. Listen, we learned from Biden-Harris, you cannot run a country, let alone the world's greatest nation ever, on spite. And that's what's happening in the Democratic Party. Newt's right. You have members, and let me just say, we have a number of Jewish senators, including Senator Schumer, Leader Schumer, who sounds pro-Iranian. They are so TDS-addled, stage 5, no cure, no therapeutic, no vaccine for Trump derangement syndrome, that they would rather, they and their other Democrats in the mainstream media, they would rather sort of coddle and justify the actions of Iran. And if you don't believe me, how much time did they spend on saluting the fact that our 2 airmen were brought home safely, that our military is so mighty, and our commander-in-chief is so resolute and so brave and courageous that they came home. They spent more time talking about impeachment articles. So I think the party's going to suffer because in this town, there's one grown-up, serious party that wants to fund the Department of Homeland Security, that wants to cut your taxes, that wants small businesses to survive and to thrive, that wants us to be energy independent. There's only one party. I've never seen a bigger contrast between the two parties. The Democratic Party of 2006, when Rahm Emanuel was recruiting candidates that were pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-tax cut, that party is gone. This is the party we have in its place, and they're not serious.
Well, I understand that, and, you know, that sort of is on display every day. But for some reason, the Republicans cannot seem to communicate in an effective way all of the great things and the good policies that they actually come up with that resonate with the American people. So let me, before we go, real quick, both of you, what is the most important thing that the Republicans need to do going into the midterm elections, Newt? What's most important to message out for the Republicans as we approach this midterm, which is going to be very important for the president's agenda to continue in his final 2 years? Newt.
I think Kellyanne had it exactly right. If this is a campaign of contrast and you have common sense Republicans lowering your taxes, creating jobs, solving problems, and you have crazy Democrats, I think common sense beats crazy. And I think when President Trump in the State of the Union stopped and looked at them and said, you people are just crazy, he was really setting the stage for a big choice election this fall. And frankly, Schumer and Jeffries do all they can to prove that they're crazy. And I think when you think about what they're saying and doing, it makes our opportunity very great.
Kellyanne, what's most important going into November?
That the Republican Party kept us safer and more prosperous and focused on housing and health care, not just gas and groceries. That's the big bite out of the family budget.
All right. Great to talk with you both. Thank you so much. Newt Gingrich, Kellyanne Conway. Don't miss my exclusive interview this weekend with President Trump. He will join me on Sunday Morning Futures. We will get his thoughts on this extraordinary moment in time, his negotiations in the Middle East, and his expectations for the economy on the other side of this. President Trump, my special guest, Sunday Morning Futures, and then more here Monday on Mornings with Maria. You're watching Mornings with Maria live on Fox Business right now.